YouTube in the live streaming, like right now, and
I was
we
going to
should
say
be.
more doing instead of talking.
We are live.
All right. Well, welcome everybody to episode 10 of the podcast Unlimited Wisdom with Robert Hollis. I'm Craig A. Jackman along with Matt Hollis, and we are so glad to have you with us today. Our topic for today, and Robert, you keep bringing this up, and I am excited, like you just shared a little bit ago, about this topic because not only have you got a great video on it, but now we're going to go into more depth with this. Our topic for today is how unrealistic expectations hurt you.
Yes,
Take a
yes,
moment to
yes.
think about that and let's get started. Matt, Robert, welcome.
Welcome,
OMG, this is going to
welcome.
be a great topic.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
Craig, for your amazing intros always. And Matt, love and appreciate both of you. So great to have you guys on here. I'll start out because my wife and I were on this subject. And this morning, my wife, Terry, Matthew's mother. And so sometimes you'll hear, I'll say, well, mom said, and it's like, she's just an amazing woman. But how we got on this is she found a video that I've been sharing with everyone, and I'd like to know how old Trudy is, but it's a Trudy show, and this lady's an elderly lady. If I were to guess, I probably would be wrong, but I'm probably thinking 80s, and you can just tell that she's got this neat accent, and a lot of the words she says is bloody. You know what I mean? Which is, similar to the F word for Americans. And I just find her amazing because, here she's got, I think she has 1.7 million likes on TikTok. I thought that I might put together some people that I can hire to just have them take all her videos off TikTok and put them on YouTube and create her a YouTube channel. And because I'd hate to see her words of wisdom disappear. With what's going on with TikTok. But here's the bottom line. The bottom line is, every once in a while I get this theme where everything's coming to me, right? And it's the same thought that as soon as you get a red car because you wanted to be unique, you notice that everyone's got a red car. They really don't, but it just changes your focus, right? And I have seen this really destroy me and whatever I was doing, along with the companies that I'm in. And I'm going to say me because I'm just telling you that I look back at my life and just realize how immature I was, but also, trying to feel like I wanted to be accepted and validated and whatever, that I would buy into what a group of people were telling me without really taking the time to figure out whether the stuff that they were saying was either true or if there was other perspectives about that. So let me give you a couple of them. Um, One that becomes very, very big is I got involved with a company called ACN. And ACN was two individuals, they're owners of the company, Mike and Tony Kupas, that I met back in the 80s, late 80s. They were really, really young. And, I ran an ad in the paper. I found this beautiful woman named Lynn Martinez that happened to be dating Mike and Tony. And, we ended up building this incredible relationship. In fact, I considered both of them identical twins to be my best friends at one time. Okay. And, we went on to do great things together. And then they created this company called ACN. I told them documentation beats conversation, until you get your checks where they need to be. That can impress me. Don't bother me. But it was ego. Say it was ego. It was like, I'm not going to get into a company where I'm in the downline or underneath somebody that I used to be above. I think some of you can understand that that's EGO, edging God out, right? So they eventually do it. And so March, I believe in 1995, yeah, not believing it was. And I went on to be the number one person in that company, number one in the world, and customers and also in recruitment of new people. And that's why I got this award. Okay. So now what all of a sudden, I hit number one. I believe that was, again, I don't know why I say believe. I know that it was, 1999, 2000, 2001. Then the company did a bunch of things, and there was another guy, Robert Stefanowski, that was making these decisions. But at one time, the company said that they were going to go public, and for the production that I did, they were going to give me shares of stock. Well, they did this, I believe, in 1998. So I remember going up to Robert and Tony and Mike and the Greg and their other owners and saying, listen, I'm going to go back into warp speed or plaid mode, as Spaceballs would say. And I said this to them. I'm going to be number one. I'm going to grow a group bigger than anybody in this company. And, you better give me some stock. All right. So I'm going to do what is entitled. I did what was entitled. We got like 2.6 million customers. I was building like a madman, and even moved to Orange County to Aliso Viejo because I wanted to get gas and electricity customers. So see how I set this all up? So my expectations was that I'm going to go out, do this production, and then I need everyone to bow and say that Robert Hollis is the best that's ever been. Okay. So I do that. Not only didn't they decide to give out stock that year, but they had this thing called the Circle of Champions. And up to that point, the top 10 income earners are the people that got into the Circle of Champions. So I show up at this event saying that because gas and electricity wasn't working, customers wasn't saving money, I made demands. Listen closely, you guys. I made demands on the owners of the company. Here I am. I'm going to make demands and tell the company owners that they need to change what they are doing. I put so much pressure on them that not only did they not give me stock, I walked the stage. Always when I try to figure this out, customers and recruits, I was number one every month, every quarter, total year. And I walked across the stage and got a trophy for every one of those. All right. So now my assumptions, my expectations is not only are they going to put me on the Circle of Champions, but I'm going to get this stock certificate because I was causing resistance to the owners of the company, telling them how to run their company. I not only didn't get stock, but I also didn't get put on the circle. And so my feelings are really hurt. And I made a decision when I found out that this wasn't going to happen. I resigned from the company, being number one, and I sold my distributorships for $1 to Tony and Mike. Now, it gets worse. Because I found out what the company was doing and I left, and I'm going to make sure that justice is told. I'm going to make sure that the world knows about the wrongdoings of this company and how they overpromised and underdelivered me. I'm going to tell them. So when I left the company, I was very openly criticizing ACN and what the decisions they made. I told, Tony and Mike Koupas were, Matt knew them very well, met them all the time. They both were godfathers of not only Matt, but also Kyle. These are the godfathers, my best friends. I totally destroyed that relationship. Totally destroyed it. Why? I never thought from a perspective that Tony and Mike Koupas looked at it like we created a company of our own. Does it have problems? It does, just like every person in every company. And all we're doing is we're doing our best. And so now the person that they liked, that they called their mentor, that gave me praise and recognition from the stage, And they would tell everyone about this auto mechanic that moved into their apartment and showed them how to do this business. Now they're no longer mentioning my name, and I can't, and we're not talking anymore because I didn't understand that these two guys that I loved and appreciated owned a small percent of this company, and it was their baby. And this is what they're building. And so when someone said that to me, Robert, can you imagine your best friend, people that you love, had a child, and all day, every day, people were coming to you saying, hey, did you hear what Robert said about your child? I did that. I did that because I set myself up with unrealistic expectations and basically demanding people to do stuff. Why? Why would I want a company to do anything than be the dream and the imagination that someone created and just do that? And I did that multiple times in my life with relationships and people that were close. And I was so immature at one time. I was always trying my best to make Terry the person that I thought she should be. Why don't you do this? Why don't you do things this way? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? She never ever lied. She never ever overpromised anything to me. Underpromised anything. I seen her goals. She wrote down her imagination. I want to be married. I want to be happily married. I want to have children. And I want to be the best mom I can be, the best wife I can be. She was very, very bold, if you know my wife. No, I had to pressure her on how I thought on religious basis. I had to do all these things that I look at myself today and I believe more like her than I did when I was dating her and asking her to be something different. She didn't change. I changed and wanted her to do these things and be this way. And why don't you think this way? And so when I become more mature, I got rid of my expectations and I changed it out for appreciation and gratitude. And when every single day I got up and all I thought about is how incredible she is, how much I love her and appreciate her, how grateful I am for her, our relationship changed in such a dramatic way that I'm more in love with her now than I've ever been. And here's the sad part about it, and it chokes me up. When she met Bobby Hollis, she never ever tried to change me ever. She was grateful and appreciative that I helped her with her dreams. I married her. We had 2 beautiful children together. She's the best mom that I know and the best wife that I know. And when I brought this up to someone recently, a shout out to Neil Ramtreater, he was going, you just described how I ruined every relationship I've ever had. And I went, wow. So I'm asking all of you as we go into this, you know, when you expect the government to do something, when you expect certain voters to vote a certain way, when you expect certain people to believe the way you believe, and every time you're in any kind of relationship and you expect someone to sign up, you expect someone to buy stuff from you, you expect them to love and support you. One of the craziest posts that I see all the time on social media is, hey, I'm going to unfriend you if you don't like and make a comment on my post. I'm doing an algorithm. And you know, if you don't like or make a comment or share my post, then I'm blocking your ass. I'm going like, how many of you, you know, how would I feel if, how would I act if? I just need to know from you guys, honestly, that are commenting in the chat. Please give us feedback back. But How many of you, when people ask you to do something they expect of you, and if you don't, you're going to get punished for it? How many of you act and make sure that that relationship stays together? Or do you just become a little rebellious and just go, F you? Every time I see one of those posts, you know what I mean? Hey, make sure you like my post, make sure you comment, make sure you share. My response immediately is, not gonna do it. Ain't gonna do it. And I'm just like going, how many of you guys respond in a way that when someone says, hey, you need to hit a rank, or hey, you need to recruit X amount of people, or hey, you got to do a YouTube channel? You know what I mean? How many of you respond in a positive way when someone tells you you need to do something? And if you don't, you're going to get disciplined like a little kid for not doing it. One more thing and we'll open it up. Have any one of you been guilty like me and actually doing something for someone, giving money, doing something for them, whatever, and you had an unrealistic expectation that they should do it back? Do you know all the judge shows that are online are successful because of this one thing? This one thing. Well, I helped him out with his rent and I expected him to give it back, plus send me a thank you card. When people ask for people to apologize, when they apologize, they go, you didn't do it the right way. I didn't feel it. You know what I mean? How can you live your life with unrealistic expectations of everything in your freaking life, when everything other than your thoughts, wait a minute, you don't control those. Your emotions, oh, wait a minute, you think you control those. Some of you are getting gooder and gooder. But I'd like you to close your eyes and just really pause for just a moment before we start this and tell me what you really, truly control. Because if you don't believe you can control your thoughts and your emotions, then that means that you're not practicing. You're not practicing on controlling your thoughts and emotion when you're not emotional. It's hard to control your thoughts when you have anxiety or you're depressed and you're like, the world's ending and the government and, oh my God, TikTok's going down and what's happening? Did they break into the campus of Columbia? And it's like, man. So when you're out of control, your thoughts and your emotions, and everything in life is unrealistic expectations, looking for appreciation and validation, and that a boy and that good girl. How many people do you hear today that are still in trauma from their childhood because, well, my mom and dad didn't do this. My mom and dad didn't do this. My mom and dad didn't do this. My grandma and grandpa didn't do this. My brothers didn't do this. My sisters didn't do this. My teachers didn't do this. So you actually get to create in your life a world and everyone in it that are all planning to be against you. And when your unrealistic expectations make you feel and believe like everybody in the world is against you, then it aptly is it's a hallucination that you created that now you get to pile on and beat the shit out of yourself. Now I'm a nobody. Now no one cares. No one loves me. No one gives a shit. Do you notice that everything is no one, no one, no one, no one, no one, no one, no one? And so now you have shame and guilt and you're pissed off at yourself and for procrastinating. So now it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Not only is the world against you, everyone in the world is against you, and you are against you. Holy fuck. What an awful place to be in. Craig and Matt?
Oh boy, talk about setting us up.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing is before you even got on, we were talking a little bit about some of the things you touched on, right? And it's like how there's so much discourse going on right now, and it's all around unrealistic expectations.
Totally.
They expect people to completely like change their thoughts and beliefs to the opposite side. How unrealistic, you know? So it is like one of those kind of main things right now, I feel like, because so many people are dealing with putting unrealistic expectations on themselves, unrealistic expectations on others, their government, the people that are supposed to serve them. I think it always just comes down to what is serving your happiness and what isn't, right? Like in so many ways, if your unrealistic expectations, and this is something I learned myself, still working on it, but if your if your unrealistic expectations are actually making your life like fucking miserable, then it's probably a good idea to reevaluate why you have those expectations, where that comes from. Because like it's interesting. One of the things you touched on that's so true, Dad, is when you do something, and this was a huge thing in my marriage, my relationships in life in general, was the moment that I realized that anything that I do without the expectation of getting it back or receiving. Right? If you go out of your way to do something for somebody, but you don't expect them to reciprocate, right? Then you get like true reciprocity sometimes, but it's important to not expect it, right? Because I think it's in the expectation where the act that you're doing becomes somewhat malicious, right? You're putting them in a position where they have to reciprocate or else, right? So it's like, oh, if I made you dinner, I'm expecting then one day this week for you to also make me dinner, right? That's how this works.
Yeah.
Or else I wouldn't make dinner in the first place if I wasn't going to get something out of it, right? And it's interesting because we're taught in a lot of ways to go into a lot of situations with expectations, right? It's like, okay, I'm doing this.
I think we watch. Don't we watch and mirror and match other people, even though people want to think that they're independent?
Well, I mean, it's like, their environment. Like mine, for example, like I have learned to be better with unrealistic expectations because I've been in situations where people have told me that, listen, that's an unrealistic expectation to have, like on yourself, on others, right? Because you go into certain situations and you go, this is going to be great. I'm going to do all these great things. And
I'm going to have it done. I'm going to have it done by next week.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the expectations of, you know, if you have a creative person, especially someone like me, and a deadline exists, the deadline only exists if I have to do it, right? Like, you know, there's certain things
we really, you know, Matt, I wanted to make sure I don't interrupt you guys. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
You know, Matt and Craig both, I'd like you, as we move on with this topic, can you identify some places in your life where, you know, in the past that you go, guilty as charged? I mean, when I did a shout out to Neil, after I said what I said to him, that was inspired by, you know, last night I watched Bon Jovi documentary, and Terry and I, my wife, talked about it afterwards. And the one thing that I hated about the documentary is how much John beat the shit out of himself virtually 24 hours a day. His whole entire language was, I wasn't good enough. I didn't hit that note right. I didn't deliver enough, you know, and, you know, man, you know, then, you know, his voice started giving up on him, and then he has surgery, and he kept saying these things like, if I can't be 100% of the 80% that I used to be, then I'm just not doing this. I'm going to give up. And I think about people like Willie Nelson was the first thing that came in my mind. You know, people don't realize that artists and people do things and they make us feel incredible. And we remember the emotion that the way that they felt made us feel. Now, if you see them live in concert, you're in the state, you're in the vortex, you're in that feeling. I don't think that you're thinking about them missing or not singing as good as they used to. So I thought of Mick Jagger and I thought about Willie Nelson and some of these people that love making people feel good. And you never, ever, ever hear them talk about, my voice is not what it used to be. I'm not running around stage like I used to be. I'm not good as I used to be. See, you look at Willie Nelson and he's not doing it for any other reason. And Bon Jovi did say one thing that I loved he goes, him and a couple of his band members said, you're in the zone or you're not. And when I'm on stage and I'm in the zone and there's 80,000 people singing my song, that's heaven on earth. I don't even feel like I'm in my own freaking body. And everyone's playing exactly the way they're supposed to play. But it's never the same. So we said like 400 performances they did in a year and a half live. I'm going like, I'm just like, and of course, every documentary you get to see the ups and downs. And we all know that their lead guitar player, just one night, they had like 11 shows left for a tour, and Richie Sambora just didn't get on the plane, just didn't show up. And a lot of people are hurt, but we got to do what we got to do. And they were all worried about what everyone was going to feel. Wait, that one of your band members is not there. And he just came out and said, hey, let's talk about the elephant in the room. It's obvious that one of our band members have been exchanged with another one. And we're going to do our best to make you forget every problem that you have. Get on the roller coaster. Let's go to work. And I went, damn. I'm not even going to address it. We all know that this guy's not Richie Sambora. Now let's make this happen. So please.
Yeah, Robert, that's what happens when you're doing stage productions every single night. And speaking it from my point of view as an actor, it's like, okay, when we rehearse obviously the scene as it's set using the director's vision. And we go up and typically we do 12 shows, 4 weekends, 3 shows per weekend. Okay. Show 1 is going to be different from show 2, which is going to be different from show 3, which is going to be different from show 8, 9, 12. And you don't know what's going to happen. And
I could see your show one night and then go back and you didn't do the same stuff that you did in the first show I watched.
Well, we should try to do that, but it's very possible, just exactly the way you shared it with Richie Sambora. Right. And even, it's like they're going to have one fantastically incredible night, Bon Jovi. And then the next night they could be doing the same thing and it's going to bomb for whatever reason.
Wow.
And it is that way in live theater because opening night may be, it was okay. And then you go to the third night and it's like everybody's standing up. You're getting a standing ovation. You're like, what the heck did I do? And then you try to replicate that same thing the next night and it bombs. And that's what I love about the one phrase I know I've shared on our earlier podcast that Sir Laurence Olivier, he said that he did an incredible performance. I don't know what the show was, but he did an incredible performance, standing ovation, 3 curtain calls, something like that. And he goes backstage and everybody's celebrating because it was such a great show. And he's not there. So somebody finally goes and finds him and goes, you did an incredible job. What happened? How come you're not out here celebrating with it? Because in his head, he said, how am I going to replicate what I just did tonight, tomorrow night, and the next night, and the next night?
Yeah, I mean that's that
Talk about
unrealistic.
unrealistic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
mean it
unrealistic
is.
expectations.
And that's one of those things where like I love that saying that you're your action, not your accomplishments. And so as long as you can
I've
consistently
never heard that.
focus on what actions you're taking and not what you're accomplishing, because you're not really in control of what those things are necessarily. Like
Some people think they are.
yeah,
A lot of people think they are. There's the unrealistic expectation again.
well, that's the thing, right? You have certain personality types that look at accomplishments as something very personal, and you look at certain people that see accomplishments as a group thing or a country thing or whatever you want to call it, right? So like I think it obviously it's different based off the group that's looking at the accomplishment, right? Like you'll see people go, "This was a great win for the country," or "This was a great win for this group," right? Um, in reality, like a majority of your accomplishments, even the awards that you get or whatever it may be, were gifted to you because someone else saw your action and said this deserves to be rewarded. You didn't get you didn't choose the award. You know what I mean? You didn't go out going, you might have had it in your like mind's eye, like say you want to win an Oscar or something like that. You might be like, I want to win an Oscar. I can see myself there. But the reality is you're only capable of doing the actions that might get you there. You're not capable of whether you'll be there or not. Right?
Or the response of the other person who you expect the positive reactions from.
Yeah. I mean, my two of my favorite creators, talents are Stanley Kubrick and Stephen King, and both of these two people aren't very awarded people. Like Stephen King has gotten some stuff later in life, but never like he's never won like the Peabody Prize for writing or anything like that for anything that he's written. And Stanley Kubrick, if you ask someone like Martin Scorsese, Steven Spielberg, any of the like de facto best of the best filmmakers of today, they would say Stanley Kubrick was like the GOAT, right? Like the person that really changed a lot, changed the way that things were done. Basically just did them the way he wanted, right? And he was more involved in the actions of what he was creating and cared less about the expectations of the audience in the same way. So he was okay with something like The Shining being nominated for worst movie of the year, but then two generations later, I have it tattooed on my body in a poster back here, and it's one of the best horror movies ever made. So he envisioned, he's like, I'm going to do my creative abilities, do my actions, not have expectations on what the art needs to be other than what it is. And the audience will or will not show up for what I create. Right. And that audience, imagine this, going back to our insane expectations, not thinking at all about expectations, planting a seed of a tree that will grow and give shade to not you, but to the generations after you're gone. Right. That's kind of the thing. It's like, wow, imagine. So Kubrick did live and he was friends with Scorsese and Spielberg, but he died very early on, right? In their careers, so to speak, in comparison. So now, even to this day, you'll still hear them bring up, or like Christopher Nolan, he'll bring up 2001: A Space Odyssey, right? As like an inspiration for his work in Interstellar and Oppenheimer and all these different things. And dude's been long gone for a long time. He didn't win. The only Academy Award he ever won was for visual effects.
Wow.
So it's like, didn't win Best Director, didn't win Best Picture, so those would have all been expectations, right? He's only one of the best filmmakers of all time. So why didn't he win these awards, right? He should have.
But look at all the actors that we thought should have won awards who never have. And not just actors, but directors, like you were saying, producers, things like this, who have vision.
Anything, athletics, everything.
Exactly.
When we see people perform, so Bon Jovi, they had this funny thing where they got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And so this constant thing, I think, for those of you that constantly find yourself not happy and not full of joy and not fulfilled because of you constantly with the wrong thoughts and the wrong expectations constantly are destroying your life. So Bon Jovi gets up there, they win, they get nominated into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Here was his speech. He goes, I can't tell you how many times in my imagination that I wrote this speech, and I don't know which one to give. The one that's appreciative and grateful, or the one that says, fuck you. And he said that because he thought that I should be in the Hall of Fame already. Why are these guys ignoring me year after year after year? So to think that he wrote a speech, a fuck you speech, because it took too long for them to make him in the Hall of Fame. What a way to destroy the moment. Oh my God. I was watching him say that. And I'm going like, so you're constantly pissed off because you're not good enough. You didn't hit the notes right. You should have did more tours. You should have got more number ones. I felt sad for him,
You know,
to go through this incredible career. And he's starting to get joy in his life now, only because he's pushing into 50% now is charity. So now we came up with the Soul Charity and these places that feed people all over the world and house people. And people that are homeless and not knowing where to go can come volunteer their efforts, but they then also could eat there and also stay there.
hmm
And he says that he's getting all this enjoyment because he's got a wine company with his son. And, he's doing some stuff with his daughters and he's doing stuff nonprofit with his wife. And it's like, now I get to pour myself into helping other people create their dreams. And so now everyone that has unrealistic expectations, you're the sound voice that goes, hey, Matt, don't worry. It's going to be okay. I've been here. I'm proud of you. Let's take it one step at a time. See, because I get to be that encouragement, but I won't do that for me.
yeah.
I mean, that's a trained skill,
Yep.
like doing that for yourself is something you really have to train yourself to do. I always like wonder to myself, right? Because to a certain extent, some people want to be acknowledged. They want that fame. They want that acknowledgement from their peers or even from a majority of people, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes I think to myself, like, is that spotlight of fame that it must be so warm that it burns and feels good, but the moment that it disappears, you feel cold as shit. Because the truth is, I see certain celebrities, and it seems like
Robin
even
Williams. Robin Williams spoke about this all the time. Sorry to interrupt, Matt, where
Mhm.
he's just going, I don't even feel like a human being unless I'm making people laugh.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because like when you no longer are in performance, when your life is performance, how do you perceive the world without that light on yourself constantly? And
Oh
there's certain
yeah.
people that like are so addicted to it that they'll almost be contrarian just to be in that
Explain.
light. Well, a
Explain.
contrarian is someone that goes against um like the status quo, basically. Like imagine everyone saying, going back to what I was joking with you before we got on here, imagine everyone saying the sky is blue, right? But then you go, no, it's not, the sky's red. That's being a contrarian. That's going against
Got it.
the popular agreed belief only to get a rile out of people or to get people talking about what you're saying. So someone like Kanye
Ah,
or Donald Trump would be someone that would be
I
like,
first thought that popped in my mind.
Yeah.
yeah, because the light starts to disappear and they start to feel it go off of them, and then immediately they need it back on them, right?
hmm
No matter what it is, right? So it's like, no, keep this spotlight on me. I'm willing to be a contrarian. I will say anything I need to keep that light from disappearing off of me, right? And you'll see like certain celebrities that they built their whole career off of being in that light.
Right.
Um,
Always
for me to
controversial. Always
Here's an interesting
controversial.
thought though,
Always.
guys. Here, is that wrong?
I'm not the judge of that.
Isn't that interesting? Because like to me, for my life, I'd be like, oh, that'd be misery. Imagine being out of your place when you're the most comfortable, right? Like being out of your comfortable space when you're just by
Would
yourself.
that be called a professional troll?
Well, I mean, a
Because
contrarian
my
would be like,
definition of pros are people that
I'm
get
more
paid.
talking about people, right? People that are
Yeah.
famous, right? But I'm
Right.
saying that they'll be a contrarian in and of themselves. Like someone like Kim Kardashian will know that if she says, like, get this, guys, there's millions of dollars at stake, billions of dollars at stake in these people's empires. There are people that surround them that manicure and modify their public image to make sure that it's marketable. So when someone like Kim Kardashian goes in front of people and says, people just don't know how to work anymore, they don't know how to work hard. To say that there's not a group of people around her that are completely aware, including her, of the response from the general audience to that statement, of course there's people that surround her that know that.
Right.
So they want her to say it. Why would they want her to say it? Because they know that the articles that will be written, the videos on YouTube that will be made, the streamers that talk about it, the
How
the
dare
Hollywood
she?
press,
Yeah.
all
Well,
of these
Taylor
people will
Swift
talk
had
about
that
it.
experience right lately when she said, "I'm not going to back this guy," meaning Donald Trump.
Did she say that lately?
There's a video out there on YouTube.
I think that was like one of those conspiracy things going around.
No, she
no, was
actually
it
said
like
that. It
Last
was
time
right
she
in front
did,
of her. Yeah, it
right?
was about voting and getting out and vote and things like that, where she said something to the effect of, "I can't keep myself silent any longer with this."
That was from the documentary last time. So I think that was in
Yeah.
2016 or something like that,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
Or
okay.
not
Okay.
2016. Yeah, no, it was 2016.
It was whatever it was. I know that it's been on YouTube, and that whole segment of her in front of her dad and mom, and she's saying, "I have to do this," even though she was surrounded by others who
But
thought
the thing is,
maybe she shouldn't.
a lot of people though right now that are protesting feel the same way.
Yeah.
They feel like their overwhelming responsibility to disrupt and speak about what's going on right now in the world is their main mission, even over their education, right? So like I think in a lot of ways it's interesting because going back to unrealistic expectations, and this is a little bit of what me and Craig were talking about before we got on here, is it's like the unrealistic expectation of removing the American flag and putting another country's flag up instead, and how that's going to motivate moderate people to support you. I don't know. I could support both sides in different ways, but to think taking down the American flag would do something positive for the American community in your support of your belief, you're wrong. I don't know.
Try that in another country.
Oh,
You're assassinated right on the spot.
I mean, it depends on what country it is, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think the patriotism here is pretty strong. I'm not exactly the world's biggest American patriot, but I also think at the same time that there shouldn't be such discourse that you should want to look at the government that you're a part of and refine it to be a healthier and safer place for everyone that's a part of it. You shouldn't look at it as like an enemy. You should look at the people that are running it as the enemy, right? Because the belief or the thought or the idea has spawned a lot of positivity and negativity, right? But on the same hand, you know, to get rid of the United States flag is in a sense saying I'm against the United States idea. I'm against the people that are coming up with these stupid fucking ideas, but I'm not against the country itself. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
well,
I
that's,
love the
yeah,
country.
that's a
that I'm in.
differentiation that
I
needs to be
seen-
made.
I seen Harvey Levin, that's TMZ, and he was being as patient as he could while he was talking to, I guess, one of the most outspoken professors and Columbia University or whatever, and and he was asking questions as carefully as he could, trying to do his very best, and I think he did a great job of just trying to understand her perspective of what was going on. And I remember that she just basically said that what the students are protesting is that the university has to immediately stop supporting are receiving money from Jewish people and Jewish companies. And Harvey Levstein went, do you know how big that is? Do you know that a majority of the universities wouldn't exist if that happened?
Mm-hmm.
And for that reason, you no longer get an education and a degree
from that kind of college.
Why are you there? See, and the professor said, well, I'm here to be a professor. And she goes, but isn't your goal to educate children or young adults? Where is the gratitude and the appreciation that I get to go to a place and get a degree that's going to hopefully further my life?
And Robert, you shared that kind of sentiment in that previous video you did on unrealistic expectations when you said changing expectations for appreciation and gratitude.
Right.
I watched that again because there's so many nuggets in that video.
Thank you.
There really are. And you know, Matt, thank you for bringing it up for today as part of the podcast, because especially in today's environment, if we can't change the expectations that we have for appreciations and gratitude, and we don't open ourselves up to thinking outside of our own little circle, our own little box, our own little tribe, then how are we going to move forward? You know, how do we not see maybe a civil war taking place?
Well, it's like the
dare I bring that up? I mean, but it seems like that's where we're going sometimes.
Or really, even when they show the map about how many universities, I feel sorry for this 1 year of people, you know, or 2024. So
do you imagine before you say that, I saw something funny, Dad. I was going to say
the kids that graduated in 2020 had their high school graduation
exactly the same thing. Yeah.
And so, all right, I guess I'm going to be one of the only people that didn't graduate because I graduated in 2020. Now you go 4 years of college and you're not getting this one either. I wonder where this group of people are. Maybe they end up, I'm going on a limb here, you know, because I don't know that I don't know. But maybe they become the really adjusted group of kids, young adults, because they constantly got taken away from them from what they expected. It's like, when do you step up and go, hey, I guess I'm the one that has to create who I am and what I feel and my thoughts and emotions. You know, I can't expect to graduate. Maybe I'll wait till college. Well, that doesn't happen either, because there's crazy stuff that happens all the time that, again, are out of our control.
Right.
Yeah. And the other thing is, too, especially with the times that are changing, when you think about it, you know, okay, maybe our parents had expectations of us doing certain things, becoming certain types of individuals, but that's not what we are. That's not where we are at this time. I mean, Robert, okay,
boy, you brought this up. You know, I know a lot of Jewish people and I love them.
Yeah.
But the biggest
You need to be a doctor or a lawyer.
The biggest, funniest comedians in the world that are Jewish is this common theme. But Craig, why don't you do something with your life?
What are you going to do with yourself, for God's sake? Exactly.
Where are my grandkids?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Boy, we switched the tone that fast, because how many of you grew up with people, friends, mother, fathers, grandparents, all of these people, that this is what I expect from you?
And it's not just the Jewish, it's the Italian, it's anybody else. I mean, it's everybody, really. But I mean, those are the ones.
Kyle, my youngest son, Matt's brother, to constantly be dealt with people constantly asking him, are you going to do something with your life? Well,
Oh,
he steps out of his comfort zone. He goes to Japan for 20, 21 days, whatever it is. And he comes back, and right away he's around a group of people helping out his grandmother. You know what I mean? And Darnell and all these other people are around there, and Lori and a couple of kids. And they're like, so what's going on? Well, I just got back from Japan. I would never do that. Oh, well, wait a minute. Wasn't the last time that you talked to me, it was like, are you going to do anything with your life? Yeah, I'm going to go visit Japan for 21 days. Well, that's not what I was talking about.
yeah.
I mean, that's one of those things in life, though, that you figure out on your own. You figure out
Yeah.
that you really are just doing shit for yourself to a certain extent. Like,
So
you're
everyone's
putting
pissed off at you no matter what you do.
somebody's gonna be.
Exactly. Because because what you do are not what their expectations of what you do are.
Yeah, I just don't care anymore. Like, I think in my own situation, I'm trying my best just not to care about it, because, like, truth be told too, like, a lot of people, if you ask them, it's funny, because in the time that we're currently living in, if you asked a lot of people of what they would expect you to do in the future, I guarantee you that they're going to be wrong.
Not only
So it's
wrong,
not.
Matt, not only wrong, but why wouldn't anybody say, I used to make this joke in when I did live presentations and live trainings. I was going, don't any of you don't understand Generation Y? I said, because they look at the generations before them and they're like, fucking why? Why did you do that? Why did
Yeah.
you worked your ass off for this company and they laid you off. They found a way to retire you before you retired so they could take your benefits and your retirement away. They're just like, I'm looking at everyone and I'm like, you guys don't seem very, very happy, very fulfilled, doing things that you enjoy, but yet you want me to follow your path?
Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
like, also too, there's a lot of stuff you could talk about in this phase about
Well,
unrealistic expectations, because it's expected in a lot of ways to go to college
Oh
now
my God,
more than it's
yes.
ever been. And then the system was set up to kind of take money away from people in a sense. So then you force everybody to kind of hope that they need that, and then you position all the jobs when they get out to require that. So every
yeah,
job used to require a high school diploma, right? And now there's a lot more jobs that's not enough. You also need a bachelor's degree. They don't care about what it's in. They just want to know that you spent the money. You know what I
Right.
mean?
I mean, I'm definitely guilty of being fed that
oh yeah,
thought process, because
Right.
I thought, yes, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to get an education. I'm going to work for we've talked about the 40-40-40 plan. I'm going to work for 40 years, and then retire at 40%, and it's like, now, especially when you see some of the things that are out there, like, everybody's earning more and more and more money on YouTube. You sit there and you bump and you grind and you do everything that you possibly can to be the best that you can be at the job. And what happens? You're refused partnership. We see a lot of that when it comes to law firms.
get past,
You're
you get,
you get passed over.
yeah,
You
a
get
young
passed
kid,
over for
one of their
promotions.
young kids just graduated from college, so now he gets the job that you worked 12 years for.
Yeah,
Well, because of his
exactly.
last name.
And oh my God, don't even start. I've
Well, I
had that
mean,
happen.
the
Yeah,
interesting thing is that goes back to expectations, though.
It does.
exactly.
If
It does.
someone, here's an interesting thought too. If someone built something, don't they get to decide what they want to do with it?
Hmm.
But then at
It
the same
should
time,
be. It
but then
should
at the
be.
same time, I'd go back to the same thought of, like, well, no one builds any of that shit alone. So, like, it's not like
Matt, listen.
you built the
I got
company
I got
yourself.
you're breaking my expectations here. You shouldn't be swearing.
Oh,
Don't
sorry.
don't don't swear.
Oh
You're
shit. Sorry. Oh, did I say that?
I was waiting. I was
like,
I was expecting something. I had
From me.
unrealistic expectations on how Matt should answer that question.
I was
But
thinking how long I could go without saying it now.
I
because
thought you were just going to look at me and go, "Fuck off, Dad." You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, me myself, I only cuss. I try my best not to cuss at people. You know what I mean? Because I had a situation, when I was younger and not as wise, that I learned from on the internet, where I was irritated at somebody, and then I like kind of somewhat went off on them, in a public group of people. And I realized very quickly that that's not what that you don't cuss at people in public like that. It just changed the dynamics of the ways that people saw me after
direct
that.
it at because it does.
Well,
I
don't
think
not in a
we all have that thing in our mind where we've all felt bullied, we've all felt
exactly
mistreated,
Mhm.
and
made to look not smart in front of a group of people. I just think like you take yourself out of the emotional situation and you put yourself in that person's shoes, regardless of the decisions or things that they made, and you go like, man, I would not want to be in that position, and then just don't do it. Simply that, right? Like, I wouldn't want to be in a position where I made a mistake or I made a joke or something and people called me out and did something to me in a public space, because it just, I would much rather them pull me apart in private and be like, that was fucking stupid thing to say. You know what I mean? Because that's like what a real friend would do. But like, if you've been in a situation where you've been called out in a public space with your friends, maybe you said a joke, maybe you went too far on something. You learn, hopefully, to stop doing shit like that, because you realize that people don't like it. Like, it's just one of those things that people don't like,
because you
not
really
that had anything to do with the situation.
No, it does. It totally does, because not saying that it's right or are giving you permission to do that, but if I cuss somebody out directly to them and singled them out, they probably didn't do what I expected them to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
and the other thing
that's
too,
what this subject is. So
it probably lowers your expectation. It lowers what everybody expects of you to the other person's level.
I think that's the part. There's this one thing that I heard very early on, and I admire it. And Kubrick did this too, but I've even heard it from Quentin Tarantino, right? But he's like, okay, rap party happens. You just finished the movie. Who's going out? Not you. You're not going out. You're staying. Why would you stay? Expectations. As the boss, as the person that's at the front, people not only act differently and not themselves around you, right, when you're around, but will perceive you completely differently if you put yourself into those scenarios. Just don't do it, right? It's not that you can't go out and have fun yourself, right? But when you're in a position of power or when you're in a position of authority, it's very important that you don't put yourself in a position where you could be, the expectations of you change in those ways. Like, not that unrealistic expectations aren't in that situation bad, but I just don't think, if you're a leader, you just shouldn't be partying with the people that work for you. I just don't think that's a healthy dynamic.
But we're all celebrating. We hit 1 million subscribers. You got to be a part of the party.
I'm busy thinking of, like, I could celebrate with you guys and then walk away and be busy thinking about what 2 million looks like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's my job as a leader. I think that in a lot of ways people get it mixed up, and then they start thinking that, oh, well, they'll like me more if I'm their friend. And it's like, it's not about just being their friend. It's about respect as well. You respecting them respecting you. Whether that's unrealistic expectations or not, I still think it's a huge thing. Like, it is.
Yeah, what would be the opposite of unrealistic expectations? Maybe not the opposite, but people that fall into this people pleasing things. that they got to
There you
be
go.
all things to all people.
It's like, let me
You
show
know?
them that I'm fun as well as serious. It's like, no, for real, they should know that while they're working with you.
Yeah.
If they don't know that while they're working with you, then you're clearly not showing yourself and you're being a person that you're normally not. Because if you work with certain people that are at the top and they are fun to work with, you hear the people that are working with them say that. They're like, they're
Yeah.
such a joy to work with. It's just so great to work with them. They're so relaxed. They're so willing to change and figure things out. They should know all those things while they're working with you. What I'm saying is the dynamic changes when their job, livelihood, or whatever is attached to your decisions, and you're putting them in a position where their expectations to treat you is different, right? It's like, oh, okay, well, we're all going to party together, so now let's all act like we're the same and normal. That's not how it works. You know what I mean? If
I thought of this. I thought of this, Matt.
Yeah.
Not only are you right on the money here, I just love this subject. I don't know if you guys do. I love this subject.
I do too.
Yeah,
I'm going to
so you
say something else that I think is important as well afterwards. But
Okay. I'll be short. So not only is your mind being a people pleaser, but being a people pleaser, they never respond the way you want them to respond by you being a people pleaser. What a
And that
shitty
is-
life. What a shitty life is that?
Yes.
Well, people respond the best to confidence, like confidence in yourself and who you are. Like one compliment I've gotten is, and this is from the work that I've done on myself. So this is a great compliment to hear. Isn't it great when you work on yourself and like get a compliment that you want to hear? But I feel comfortable
expecting
around
it.
you. I don't feel expectations from you.
Right.
I feel relaxed around you. You're very at peace. I feel like when I'm around you, I don't feel like I need to be somebody that I'm not to please you. Right?
Yeah, you're not judging me.
Exactly. I don't feel that judgment from you. That is a great compliment to get because it just feels warming because it's like, well, I don't ever want to be someone that brings that in. I don't want to step into a room and everyone holds their breath until I talk.
Right.
I want them to go, holy shit, he's here. You know, like, hey, what's going on? Like that should exist regardless if you're the boss or not. But what I'm saying is you definitely
Great
should
point.
not put yourself. And I'll say one more too that I think is very
keep
important.
going, man. This
on a
is
rant.
called a podcast.
Yeah, I'm on a rant right now, and this is why, you know, when I'm streaming
listening.
and stuff,
I'm learning.
But like the whole aspect, you'll see these people get power and grow, right? And you'll see them get in a place of power, and then they have everyone around them that's telling them that they're the shit, telling them that their ideas are the best. And then they go home to their family. Maybe they've been married and their kids, and their wife's like, it's been shit today. Like the kids, you know, they threw shit all over the walls, all of these things like that. You just don't help enough around the house. And then what do these guys do? They like go and cheat on their wives, or they leave their wives for someone younger, or vice versa. They'll like betray their family in a sense.
Right.
I think the goal of a family is to equalize you in those situations.
Amen. Yes.
It should be a place that you can let that boss shit go. You shouldn't.
Yep.
In my life, and I've seen this even with you, Dad, too, of course, but it's like, as I have children and grow older, I want to leave work and come home to a place where they can rip on me and I can rip on them and we all can just have a good time, right? Like, not that you can't have respect from your children, but I think at the same time, it's very, very important for that environment not to be like, I'm moving from a business person back to a business person in my house. Like, I have no desire to have oversight over every single little thing my children are doing, because that like stops them from being who they are. You know what I mean? And
Exactly.
exploring.
Have you ever felt me personally with you expecting you to do something?
I think, and this is something that I'll share. It's a therapy thing, but I think it's not. It's more so like. And here's an interesting thing, going back to unrealistic expectations, because you get this shit based off of what you see in other places, right? So it's like, okay, do I get any negativity? No. On the other hand, when you're raised with positivity in one direction and then non-acknowledgement in another, then obviously you're going to go into the direction that gives you the positivity, because that's just how we're wired, right? So
I agree.
Yeah, I'm good at a lot of the things that you like. I'm good at marketing. Oh, look, it's like, okay, I wanted to build websites. Now my son just happens to build really nice, beautiful websites. Oh, I would like to shoot videos. Oh, it just so happens that my son's really good at recording and editing videos, right? So, yes, I've realized as I've gotten older that, yes, I might have gotten good at some things that got me praise and recognition from my father.
That probably makes us human, right?
It's a human trait. Of course, we want that as children.
Yes.
But as you get older, you figure out, okay, well, what are some things that I do want? I want to make movies. I want to do some of this stuff. Do I get a lot of praise and recognition from my family for writing? No, because they're not interested in it, right? But I might have an unrealistic expectation because maybe I saw a documentary of Billie Eilish and her parents were like all over her making of music. It was like their whole identity was supporting her and Phineas, her brother, in making music. And you see what they've accomplished with that talent. And you could go, man, I wish I would have had that. I wish my parents would have read through every one of my screenplays and been like, we need to get this in front of the people that it matters. You're so good at this, right? Not everybody gets that. That's an unrealistic expectation. So like that would be my honest answer. With therapy, you figure those things out.
Yeah.
You figure out if I was on stage building massive network marketing groups, you'd probably be praising me from the rooftops about it, right? Because you'd go, holy shit. And you do, right? If I impact people's lives on this, or we get on Imaginators and I impact someone's lives, I get a lot of praise from you and others going, you're so much like your dad. You've done all these, like, look at that. And then on the other hand, if I'm doing things that have nothing to do with you, never have been in your wheelhouse, I need to figure out how to give myself praise and recognition for those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's something so important.
Learn. Craig, with acting, bet you didn't have a lot of dad. With what you're doing, personal development, probably wasn't a big deal when you were growing up. Probably don't get a lot of praise and recognition from your family on what you're doing, helping others, right? Yeah. Because it's not valuable to them in the same way. But it takes
it
takes wisdom and time to figure that out. So
I think we lost your dad's audio.
Yeah, I don't hear you for some reason.
There we go. We got it.
Hear you now.
Wow.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, something popped up. I don't know. But I thank you, Matt, again for sharing that, because I know that you felt comfortable enough to say whatever you needed to.
Me and you don't got any bad blood. No,
I think if I may just jump in really quick, gentlemen, it's the fact that the two of you respect each other's opinions.
Right.
And what you've grown up, and you value each other for not only the similarities, but the differences, because you've had various life experiences. Robert, your life experience is definitely not like Matt's, even though Matt does come from you.
My dad is a fucking amazing father because, and I don't want him to cry, so I'm going to try my best not to say anything too far. But
yeah, hey, you can feel the energy shift.
But like I admire people a lot that have been through trauma and don't commit generational trauma. You know how hard that is to not do. So to grow as a person enough to be the opposite parent of what you grew under is so fucking rare. And to have that not even permeate into your personality. Me and my dad have gotten into arguments before, but we're human, so we're going to. But never have I ever felt like, Dad, you don't respect me as a person, or want me to succeed, or want me to be myself. So I think that's what I've learned. And I know when I have children, it's so funny because as I've gotten older, you move out, you do all these things, and I know a lot of people here will relate to this, right? And I know my younger brother will relate to this. The moment you move out, you realize very quickly how much shit your parents were doing, right?
Yep.
Because you go, holy shit, I have to do all this myself. Like, wow, they really were taking care of me, right? And hopefully you had great enough parents to feel that way. Not everybody gets that experience, but I did. So my experience was, holy shit, they really took care of me. And now when I am in the phase of my life where I'm going, okay, me and Hannah want to have a family, we're thinking about it more, putting our roots down somewheres. Now I know I'm going to go through that whole process where I'm having conversations with my dad going, holy shit, did I make a
You're
mistake
right.
here? What? My life was so easy before that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's where
So
you have to give yourself
my
grace
responsibility,
too.
right? Like me and Hannah both talked about that. It's like the responsibility of your life changes, and it should hopefully change if you're a good
Yeah.
person, in my
yeah.
opinion.
Yeah.
When you have
Yeah.
children, your responsibilities should change to holy shit. Like my life now is longer than my own. I have to figure this out generationally in a way that I didn't before. And that's how I'm thinking
Mm-hmm.
about it now, right? And I know, Dad, you've seen this shift, especially when you guys visited and stuff, in me as I've gotten older, where I'm like, before it was like, fuck it. Like, what I'm doing with my life is my life, right? And then you
Right.
get older and you want to have a family and you go, all right, now it matters, like, what I'm doing here. Like,
Right.
I want my children to have my love, care, and respect. I don't want them to be bullied because of the things that I've done. I don't want them to have that reflection of who I am on their character in a negative way. I want them to look at me like I'm looking at you, Dad, and going, fucking great job. You did an amazing job. I'm proud of you. Thank you. Instead of going, I couldn't wait. I hope he burns. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
I do not
when
want my
you,
kids feeling that way about me.
yeah, Matt, thank you for sharing. And when you talk about, the title that we're focused on is, the unrealistic expectations is, when you really, really want that for yourself, then you try to do your best to give that to others, you know? And I just think that, of course I look at you as a miracle in motion. It's like if you really do it right, we see all the time where the mother or the parents are still fighting for their child, even though they found out that they're a mass murderer.
Well, I get it
And
because
it's
it's
like,
still their child, right? But like
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
at
yeah.
the
It's
same,
like,
you're always gonna
well,
see, and Mom said
you
this,
don't know
right?
him the way I know him. And it's like he
Yeah,
cut people up. It's like,
yeah. Well,
but,
Mom's
but
gonna
I
see
know the
me as
good
the
side of him.
the 15-year-old kid giving her shit still, no matter what. You know what I mean? And like she said that she's like, if I could just, because she liked the part of us that was in that teenage years, because we were just like, we were very simple and easy teenagers,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like we were into video games and those types of things, so it's like we're easy in that regard. Probably, depending on the hobby, more expensive because we had martial arts and those types of things. But
right.
I do feel like she still will always see me as that kid, and I'm okay with that. It's interesting because some people fight against that, but I
Yeah, I
find it
think
so
parents,
wholesome that exists,
yeah,
right?
you take and it's funny, don't we do this in everything in life? Glory days. Why
Yep.
wouldn't you take
Mm-hmm.
the moment of your life when you felt most connected to your child and just remember that moment in time?
And then
You-
beat the child up for that because he's not realized the expectations of that
Yeah,
moment for you at this time.
yeah,
I mean, some people are like so on their children that it's like that generational expectation is massive.
Oh yeah.
Like
I can't. Me doing what I do for 37 years, which is actually getting people back into an imaginational state where they actually have good feelings about themselves and their future every day.
mhm.
The number one thing out of all, and I'm talking, I'm not bragging, millions of people that I personally have had contact with, and them trying to live up to the unrealistic expectations that others, mainly parents, had for them has been disastrous.
It's a lot of people.
Oh,
Because these people go, I, Josh Zwagel, it's like, you need to go to college and get a business degree. Don't look at your father and your mother and your aunts and uncles that own businesses. You need to get an education. And for Josh to go, so what's the goal when I get done? I got a business degree. I got a master's in business. And so this allows you and your brothers to hire me as an employee. What's the grand plan here?
hmm
No, we wouldn't want you to work for us. Oh, you'd want me to work for somebody else?
Mm.
I never thought that far ahead. I just wanted something better for you than I had. Yeah, but you did everything for me and you're an entrepreneur. How about if I give this entrepreneur thing a try?
I mean,
It's like,
let's be
wait a
real.
minute.
That experience, being an entrepreneur, especially if you want to be a boss like Josh, right?
Right.
If you want to be in that position, we're talking about a small incremental amount of people that are capable of doing that. And
Very,
it's
very small.
and it's interesting because I've always fought like with like the nature nurture part of this because it is fascinating. It's like, okay, so if in his situation, nurturing tells you go in this direction, and yet even if you've had that from someone like Bill Gates, even if you had someone like Mark Zuckerberg, you go through a bunch of people that are like this, right? Go get a degree, go get an education, go do these things. Then they just fucking bail on it and go start their own thing anyway, right? So it's like, even if they were told to do the opposite, that's nature in a sense. That means that somewhere in their brain, they're going, nah, I'm more right.
Yep.
And they have that such early on. It's interesting.
Yeah,
right?
My brother is that way with everything that we have done, and I know I've shared this also. The fact that I was the number one, and I went through school, and I got A's, and I was always good at what I did. Then my sister followed. Boy, talk about unrealistic expectation from all my teachers who thought that my sister was going to be exactly like me.
Why aren't you like your brother?
She wasn't. And then even going to my brother, exactly, where my sister at least was, I'm not going to say that she was like 70 to 80% of what I was, but she in her own right was a very smart person, a very good person, a very good student, and she did her own things. And then my brother comes along, and those exact same teachers who had my brother, who went to the same school that we did, was like, well, why aren't you like Craig and Lisa?
Wow.
Oh my God. And my brother was just like, all right, forget it. I'm done. I'm not even going to compare myself to him.
Total rebel.
Total. Exactly. And yet I can look back on times where I am so proud of my brother for being who he is. If I may share a story, my brother's a skateboarder, and several years ago,
a rollerblader, so.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Junior. So he was he's always been his own creative individual. He's been an excellent photographer. He's an artist. I can't draw worth a damn, but he has a good eye for art. He's great on skateboards. He's great with a lot of, with music too, in the sense of he plays bass. Anyways, he had one opportunity to go to the world championships for downhill slalom skateboarding, but he couldn't afford it. And I was in a position where I just basically said, Brad, you've got to go to the qualifier. And he was just, wow. And I said, here's the money. I don't care if I get it back at this point in time or not. This is an opportunity for you to do what you want to do. And whether you come back on the podium or not, I am so proud of the fact that you went, and you are going to be able to do this and qualify. And guess what? He qualified.
Wow.
What a great story.
And it was because I knew that he could do it. I knew what he needed to do. And I was there I changed my I didn't even think about the expectations that I put on my brother because he was number 3 in the family. And he was kind of the scapegoat for the 3 of us from everybody else. I knew what my brother could do.
Was anybody in his family there to watch it?
Unfortunately not.
Isn't that interesting?
But we were there in the sense of being in spirit. We supported him. We were behind him 100%.
See, that's the same thing that Matt said. It's like, what a great story. Thank you for sharing. I'm glad you shared.
That's amazing. That. Very sweet of you too, Craig. I feel like it was great that Kyle went to Japan. I wasn't gonna pay for it though. It's quite expensive.
No, but you supported him going
Right.
to
No,
Japan,
I know,
right?
I know.
You
And I
supported him
think,
being on his own and being who he is.
hell yeah. I think that that's the thing is like when you're whether it's spouse, sibling, parent, friend, right?
Exactly.
When you're in that position and you see someone really really like going for something that's interesting to them and they've wanted, of course your reaction to that should be absolutely positive and supportive,
Right.
like without thinking about getting it back either,
Exactly.
right? Like maybe the sibling or whoever I'm talking about has been against you. It doesn't hurt you to be for them. If anything, it'll change. You know what I
Right.
mean? And if it doesn't, unrealistic expectation. Don't expect it to change. You're changing. Your actions are changing. That's what you're in
Yeah.
control of. So
I just had another.
Just those words, right? Excuse me, Robert. I'm sorry. Those were say that again, Matt,
Yeah.
please.
what now? Rue just
Say what
jumped
you
at
just
me.
shared again.
You're gonna have to say it.
How oh my God.
Unrealistic expectations.
The unreal about the fact of you changing.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, there's multiple. I actually forgot what I was saying because Rue jumped up at me. So something came out of my mouth. I
Oh.
said it. It was so golden, and now I don't remember because Rue's like
All right, we're
jumping
gonna
at
have
me.
to
So
remember that this is like
everybody
1
else
hour,
rewind and
22
tell me what I
minutes
said.
into
Yeah, there
the
you go. There
1
you
hour,
go.
21 minutes into the podcast.
Someone
But-
will. Someone will remind me in chat.
Yeah.
Probably.
But it was just so powerful. It's, the fact that you can say that, you know, we understand where we're at and we give, oh, damn. I don't know where
No,
I'm
I'm
going
getting
with
it
this.
back. I'm getting it back. It's coming back.
Well, let me say something because I
Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah,
Go
save
ahead,
us.
Robert. Sorry. It's
no,
wow.
Whatever Matt said got me to believe and say, man, when you try to share your imagination and what you love and what, really gives you joy, and you start sharing that with other people and they immediately knock it down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So how many people did your brother say to, I'm going to be a skateboarder and I'm going to be freaking great at it? And it's like,
Oh, God.
listen,
Yeah.
listen, don't you think it's time that you drop down that shit and stop imagining being good at a skateboard and get a decent freaking job that I can brag about you? I'm tired of all the family and friends coming to me and they go, so what's your youngest son doing? He's skateboarding. You see what I mean? And
Uh-huh.
it's like, so when Matt shared that in
Mhm.
an emotional moment where he's like, hey, my mom and dad are really not interested in the things that I write.
Nobody. What's so funny
Yeah,
is that no one in the family is from that. So
right.
it took me a bit to figure that out for some reason, but like for a while it was like um when you have to find the people that kind of click with you in these different areas. You can't
True.
expect the people in your life to fulfill all of your needs, like one person
Right.
in particular, or even two people.
Unrealistic expectations.
Right, exactly. So it's like, okay, if I wanted to, like skateboarding, like Craig, for instance, your brother is not going to come to you and your sister and go, let's all skateboard. And then if you go, no, we're not interested, he's not going to go, okay, well, then I'm just never going to do it then.
Right.
Right.
'Cause
No.
I need you to also be interested for me to do this with my life.
Right.
It's like,
But let me
no.
share
Exactly.
let me share a little twist with you, Matt, and see. I want you to respond as honest as you know how.
Yeah.
Is when you started getting really excited about AI. Do you know how much time that I've spent on AI? Not very much.
Yeah.
I do use it, but I'm not creative like you are in the thoughts of doing that. But because you have shared that with me, I'm caught up in your imagination
Yeah,
of
you're in my
of
dream.
of your studio and you
Mhm.
being a place that people think about, man, we got to get to Matt Hollis and the stuff that he does. So when you go out of your way to share your imagination and your excitement and enthusiasm about that, I don't ever believe that I'm going to be in a place that with your imagination, but I do get excited to do whatever I can to support you in that
Yeah.
pursuit.
Well, that
Absolutely.
requires me to do something, which
Right.
is exactly the same that Craig probably had with his brother, which is confidence and belief that I even like that's a large part of it, right? The reason that I get on here and then I'll get messages from people, or people will show up and they'll be like, I love when you talk about AI, or I love when you talk about these things, storytelling, is because I talk about them with a great amount of excitement and confidence.
Yes. Yes.
And
Exactly.
me exerting that. It wouldn't really matter what I'm talking to you about, right? And how do I know this is true? Because I've gotten people to go see movies that they wouldn't want to see. I've gotten people to watch shit or read a book that they wouldn't normally read. So I am persuasive in a sense of being like confident in going, "Hey, this would be for you. Here's how it would benefit you. Here's how it's of interest to you." But what I've learned more so is like not needing validation from other people in the things that I like,
Yeah.
right? Or the things
Oh,
that
Yeah.
I'm
that
I
is
was
passionate
just,
about.
I
so
was just
important.
saying, Matt, that for whatever reason, not figuring right or wrong, I, I just, I just never ever was paying attention to you enough to feel that enthusiasm that you had for writing.
Well, I didn't know, you know, when you're a kid, you don't really know what you want to do. So like I
Hey, I'm 62 and I'm still figuring that out.
well, I'm going to say that it's progressed as technology has changed for me.
Right.
That as I've grown and technology has grown, there's multiple different areas, and so I didn't really know exactly, like if you would have asked me when I was younger a different path that I would have went on. It's interesting because when I
Yeah.
pulled up all the YouTube stuff that I used to do, I even talked to my younger brother about it, and he's like, I'm like, remember when we used to upload YouTube videos and stuff back, like even when Mr. Beast started? It was the same year. You had me look at it and that blew my mind. But it was like, remember when we used to upload videos and we would do this stuff, and Kyle's like, I didn't upload and do any of that, you did all of that. Like I just was there, right?
Hmm.
And then I remember like the film review stuff when I did that, or any of the other
Yeah.
things that I've done. I think that in a lot of ways I've been seeking out something that gives me a mixture of the lifestyle that I want, because I grew up in an entrepreneur lifestyle. So I don't really know what it feels like to be subservient of my talents to somebody else, because I've always utilized my talents to grow what we're doing here
Yeah.
from like a very early age. I'm talking like 9, 10 years old, right?
Hmm.
So my whole worldview is different than most people's, just because instead of being like, oh, schoolwork or I need to go to college or whatever, I was like very early on thinking about how do I grow a business and build it to be an entrepreneur to facilitate the ideas that I want. So in reality, what needed to happen is two different things needed to collide at the same time, which is happening now, which is the creativity aspect of who I am with the business aspect of the way that I want and my
Got it.
lifestyle. I
Hmm.
What was upsetting about wanting to be a filmmaker or a writer is, okay, I write a book. Before you were able to self-publish and promote it yourself, you were subservient to other people's marketing and
Yeah.
approach to getting it out there. Film is the same way. I knew that if I wanted to create a film, it would take decades of my life before I would get final cut and have the full ability to create the stories from start to finish that I wanted. That's something that you have to earn. You're playing with other people's money here. So you have to
Right.
earn that. And so I was aware that I would have to go through a lot of misery to get to that point. And then as the last years come and gone, those technologies are now colliding. And now I see it being a complete and total possibility that I just get to start my own film studio and do everything that I want the way that
Nice.
I want to, right? And then also like build a bunch of other filmmakers and creatives up to facilitate their ideas in an atmosphere that doesn't exist at the current time in the same way.
Got
Right.
So
it.
like bring your actors there that have the freedom to play around with the script. It's not That only exists for actors that have earned that, and to a certain extent, and it depends
Yep.
on who you're working with, to be honest, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
unless you're ignorant, like people like Sylvester Stallone, you just got it in your mind that, hey, the main character is me.
Well, that's also
Yeah.
you have to accept that there's a certain aspect of it that's luck based, and it always will be.
Totally.
That Sylvester Stallone, you could act like certain things, certain times, blah blah blah. Sylvester Stallone just happened to pitch a really great movie as him as the star in just one of the most open times for creative filmmaking that existed at the time,
Wow.
which was that
Yep.
time.
There was,
If he was pitching that movie now, it might get made and dumped on Netflix and forgotten. That's
Right.
It
And
still might
not
get
with
made,
him as the lead either.
Yeah.
Just
Terry and
different.
I watched.
We're talking about the Rocky film, by the way, in case you don't
Yeah.
know.
but- right? Yeah.
Terry and I were watching. TMZ did a documentary where Harvey interviewed Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone at the same time.
Because they were competing against each other at that time.
And
Yeah.
the things that were exposed during that was, you guys got to watch the interview. So there was one part of it that
you said, where is it?
I
Is it
believe it's on
Netflix?
Hulu.
Okay.
It's called TMZ documentaries. So now
Okay.
the thing that he's stepping out and doing more than just TMZ, he's doing these documentaries and also investigations. So he's got them both sitting there, and they're talking about how unique and different they were, but how much they were pushing each other. Like one example is they were actually counting in the movie between them how many people were killed in each movie, body count.
Yeah, there's
And
a
so-
website that does this.
And so they had to keep going back, or how big was a car chase, or, whatever. So there was one thing where Arnold said that he knew that he would never catch Sylvester Stallone unless he made a mistake. So him and his agent and manager purposely put out that this agency was reaching out to him for this movie, and it was called my mom shot somebody. I forget what it was, but they're stepping into comedy and all this stuff. And so Sylvester Stallone heard through the rumorville that Arnold Schwarzenegger was going to take this film. So now they did it on purpose. So Sylvester Stallone's manager reaches out and says, Arnold's going to get this film. We need to get you in it. And they did. And it was Sylvester Stallone's worst movie that he ever had.
Yeah, it's Hulu, by the way.
Okay.
I was gonna say though, out of the two of them though, like Schwarzenegger, can we admit, is pretty great at comedic roles. Like
he is.
Every year I watch Jingle All the Way for Christmas. I love that movie. I don't know
Right.
why. I just do.
And so what was really, really hilarious is that Sylvester Stallone looked at him and went, "What?" And he goes, "I guess I should apologize for that." And he goes, "Wait a minute." Because he was going, "What did you do?" And he said, "Well, my manager and I came up with this idea that we would make the world hear and knew you would hear that I was going to beat you to this role." And he goes, "But as I apologize, I want you to know that I did it on purpose, and I'll tell you why." He says, "I only could think of one way that I could catch you, and that you had to have a sucky movie. You had to trip and fall for me to catch you." And he goes, "So my mind conjured up this idea that, man, if we could get Sylvester Stallone to do this movie with a elderly lady that supposedly she was, shooting people." I'd never heard of the movie. It was that bad, but they said mama shot the train or something. I don't know. You guys could Google it.
I'm gonna Google it.
I think I know which one you're talking about. I saw
to
that
show
one, yeah.
that, both of them just kept this competitive thing going. And then the other thing he goes, Arnold's, like you said, Matt, perfect. He's naturally freaking funny. And so as soon as he did that, Sylvester Stallone says, "Well, touche, good one." He goes, I guess I now could admit how I set you up. And Arnold goes, what do you mean? He goes, well, I heard that you were running for governor. And I reached out to you and said, anything I can do to support you. Because I wanted you the hell out of what I was doing.
The movie was called Stop or My Mom Will Shoot.
Yeah.
1992. So it's as old as me.
So isn't that hilarious that both of them are like not only trying to beat each other? And that's when Arnold said, really, is that the only reason you supported me? And he goes, because he says, I remember like it was yesterday. I look at all my fans and then I look at all of Sylvester Stallone's fans. If we both endorse me going to governor, I'm going to be governor. So he said, I don't think I would have ever made that decision if you didn't call me and tell me you were going to back me.
It's like, listen, if I have my enemy, my frenemy to a certain extent back me, then
Arnold
I know I
said
got
right
this.
behind that, he goes, well, people really knew who we were. We're so different. He goes, I bet you this suit and this jacket that he's wearing, this whole outfit that Sylvester Stallone's wearing, he said probably cost like $15,000, you know? And Sylvester Stallone gets this big smile on his face and he goes, yes, we are different because I know you will wear that leather jacket until it comes back in style.
That's great. I mean, you could tell that there's like a level of admiration and respect there, which is really, really nice to see. You know, like I think you can see certain levels of competition that are healthy and ones that are not, and it's all dependent once again on expectations, right?
Yeah.
Like if you expect to be the best and beat somebody else, I obviously that's an expectation you have to have as a competitor.
What a great way to turn this subject, because the nether download that I got is something I know a person could Google and find on YouTube. Michael Jordan's Hall of Fame speech. Okay.
Oh,
so
yeah.
he makes it to the Hall of Fame and he comes out on stage and he says, well, other than thanking my mom and dad and the other people that were responsible for helping me make my career, I want to personally thank the person that made this happen. Thank you, Larry Bird. And everybody went, what? And he goes, every day I wanted to beat this asshole.
Yeah. Same thing with Magic Johnson.
Maybe it was Magic Johnson.
I think it was Magic Johnson because Magic and Bird were always going back and forth.
Thank you. It was Magic Johnson's Hall of Fame speech.
Yeah. And it was, they respected each other, but boy, were they solid competitors.
Oh, man. Yeah.
And it was because I remember, I think the phrase was from Magic is that he thanked Larry Bird because Larry Bird was so good that he made Magic Johnson have to perform better to be where he was and to be who he is.
So there's instead of unrealistic expectations, there are people that raise the bar to make you at least have the imagination that I'm going to attempt that. All right. So when Bon Jovi in that documentary, he's going, well, no bands. He said straight out, no bands come from New Jersey. He says, in fact, everybody that you talk to says that you got to be from LA or from New York. You can't be from New Jersey. And he goes, so I'm 15, 16 years old, and we snuck into this bar, and Bruce Springsteen was singing. And he goes, I love being from New Jersey. And I went, that's me. A rock star can come from New Jersey.
I was going to say, one of my favorite bands growing up in my generation did come from New Jersey. So that's funny.
Who was it?
My Chemical Romance, which is like, you guys are not going to know who they are.
Oh, I've heard of them. Yeah.
Welcome to the Black Parade is like, it's funny because there's this meme that I sent Hannah the other day, and it was like, tell me you're a millennial without telling me. And this dude's sitting at a piano, he just presses one note, and everyone knows it's "Welcome to the Black Parade" by My Chemical Romance. It's like our Freebird, right?
Okay.
Or our
okay.
Bohemian Rhapsody, so to speak.
See, now
it's
I
like
got it.
our
Now-
song
yeah,
that goes
yeah.
on for like 8 minutes long and has a huge anthem rock thing to it. Listen to it if you haven't. It's a great song.
Cool.
So
I think you had to grow up with it. You know what I mean? It's like
I didn't grow up with Leonard Skinner, but I like him.
that's true.
So yeah,
That's
I
true.
think it only goes forward, right? Like, I love all music that was before me, but I hate all music that's in front of me. No, I'm just kidding.
Well,
It's
now
like,
I think
listen,
that's
whatever
the
these
case.
kids, these
now
these,
you need a laptop and this mixer thing, and you just fade one song into the other.
Pretty much.
yeah, I mean, it depends on what you're making. It's interesting because you'll see, like EDM music, like electronic music or hip hop music, has a lot of sampling. And if you guys don't know what sampling is like taking bits and pieces of other songs and mixing them together, or lowering the tempo of the song or increasing the beats per minute of the song to like distort it or change it, right? So this is how, if you hear a certain hip hop song, you're like, oh, I remember that song from back in the day. Or it'll be a very popular song and you'll remember it. But if you guys
Right.
ever Googled, right, certain artists, like maybe pick Daft Punk as one of the biggest EDM ones, or in hip hop, you could pick someone like Kanye West or Jay-Z, or in other branches of music, you can do this too. But these two are the most predominant. You'll realize just how vast their talent is for this.
Yeah.
Because you'll see them take a beat from a song that they listened to on a record from the 1960s that I have no idea how they heard that, right? And I've seen them because some of the people I respect, like
Yeah.
Tyler, the creator, you'll see these guys go to the record store and they'll go through and buy old records and listen to them. Like 90% of their job sometimes is listening.
Mastering their art.
Exactly. So they're listening
Mastering
to
their
that
art.
one particular spot, and then they go, "Oh, if I did this with it and this with it, it would touch this part of your brain."
Right.
And yeah, I mean, it's a whole art in and of itself. So.
and
Hey, Robert, you share that in a sense on your YouTube channel with, I guess it's Sickic.
yes. Yeah.
And
Yes,
you-
yeah,
Yeah, where he takes the songs. I mean, the mashup with
Phil
you remember
Collins
the
and
time?
Phil
That's the one.
Collins and,
Yes.
and Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson.
Gee whiz.
And then he inserts himself into it with certain at certain points. But he's taken that whole thing and created a brand new piece based on the sampling of those two classic songs.
yeah, and it is an interesting topic too, because like for whatever reason, the expectations on a lot of that stuff is obviously like copyright, and it'll be interesting to see how that goes
yeah.
with AI, because obviously you can somewhat copyright somebody's voice. It'll just be interesting to see how far that law goes, because if you wanted to take somebody's voice like Michael Jackson and put it in a song singing lyrics that you wrote, but you distorted it in some way, then it technically would fall under free use because you're changing it. So on the other hand, certain artists can't do that, right? Like Kanye West just had his new album come out, and he had a song on it that sampled a thing from Ozzy Osbourne song.
Okay.
Or maybe, I think it was actually from, what band was he a part of before?
Who, Ozzy?
Black Sabbath. Yes. So it was like from Iron Man, right? And so he sampled it, and Ozzy was like, obviously Kanye is a shitty person now, especially, but Ozzy was like, I don't want that on my music. I don't want you to use that sample. You're not allowed to use it, right? So then Kanye just went and found he had sampled the exact same beat from Iron Man on one of his older songs called Devil in a New Dress, and he utilized that sample from his own song in his new song that sampled the original song, and he was allowed to do it because technically he had given him permission, and technically that it was his work that he was sampling off of, even though the sample was used from a Black Sabbath song. So that's where I'm like, why I said all that shit is to say, I know there's people on here that creatively want to make music and do things, and the imaginators, and it's like, okay, at what point is it copyrighted and it isn't, right? If I'm sampling my own work that I distorted. Now
And
I'm
there was a
sampling someone
lawsuit
else's.
recently about something like that,
It's
where
weird, right?
you've got 4 basic chords and in different progressions.
Ed Sheeran.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Ed
Dad,
Sheeran.
you could share a little bit about that, because that is another one of those situations where you're like, all right, we're getting into a world now where we're going to have more creative people than we ever have. I think we're about to go through a digital renaissance. Like, if you know, the renaissance is through human time of art and creativity and stuff. They normally exist in times right after a bunch of negative shit, right? Like, we're going through the negative shit pile right now, and we're in that, and we're swimming through that. And then once we get to the other side of that, I think that it's going to be pretty great. I think that the world's going to be pretty great.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we talking about this subject right now. You know, I'm not that old. I'm 62, but I've seen the world just get to a point where they're just tired of everything being a chaos. You know, so, you know, this too will pass. And I just think that if people understood that, if you become who you hang around and you sort of lose your identity by being a people pleaser, and you're just following a group of people because you really haven't figured out your path, what you were created to do, then eventually, if you're following a bunch of people and being a people pleaser and you're not authentically doing what you're supposed to be doing, then it's going to get to a place where you sort of throw up your hands and you go, okay, I give up. I give up. And I'm tired of trying to please these people. I'm tired of following people just because I don't know what I'm doing. And it really forces you to step back and go, who am I? You know, and even in that short video that I sent you guys today with that, Kyle knew who he was, but that Dr. K gamer or whatever. And Kyle knew who he was. And for him to immediately say, hey, listen, you know, when are you going to come to the realization that your DNA is different than everyone? And so the whole world tries to fix you, put you in this fucking box. This is what you need to do. This is how you need to learn. This is how you pick your career. And this all got sort of inspired this morning from watching, you know, the Trudy Show. You know what I mean? And right away, I sent the video to people, and Neil and a number of people came back and went, that's what Terry should be doing.
I know.
You know what I mean?
It takes a certain person to want to do that. Every single, like, I'm so with you on that, Dad, because I think, like I said, my mom and my aunt Kathy, I feel like both of them, they could sit down in front of the camera and just rant, and I feel like most people would watch it because they're just so funny.
I told your mom, we could set up a camera somewhere in the house where she doesn't know that it's pointed at her, and then the other one would be on TV, because people don't know why I love this person so much, because she doesn't have a filter. And so the audible what?
We just had an earthquake.
We just had an earthquake.
Talk about live.
Yeah.
We just had
my whole desk just shook.
Yeah, I felt like it was somebody punched me up.
Yeah.
And then rolled.
And then moved me. Yeah. I was like, it was like I was on a roller coaster for a second.
How is that for live while we're going? Yes.
Whoa. Well, welcome to California.
Hey, we were definitely talking about something shocking.
I'm on the podcast still, but
that's why the dogs went crazy.
Hannah's like, earthquake. Well, I mean, we're coming up at the top of the hour here, so we probably should just do an end of it, just in case we get some aftershocks and me and Craig got to take cover or something. So
hard to do a podcast and crawl underneath your table. You know what I mean? Your desk.
I mean, I have wireless microphones and cameras.
Yeah,
so
I could probably get my mic to go long distance and to just take the camera with me too.
Well, the dogs and everyone's freaking out now. So, Dad, do you want to go ahead and close it out? And
I think we can. Craig, just close it out.
Thank you guys so
well,
much. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you, each and every one of you, for being here today. You can follow Robert Hollis at roberthollis.com. Also, if you'd like to join our exclusive community, the Inner Circle, you can join us by going to roberthollis.com/join to register. There'll be lots of great exclusive content, and you'll be able to participate in our special breakthrough sessions to help you move on to the next level. Very simple. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, click that join button at the very bottom of this video. That's as simple as that to join us as part of the Inner Circle and the Imaginators, another one of our great communities. Please don't forget to like and share this video on YouTube and with others. It will help us grow our community and reach those with ears to hear. Thank you, and shout out to our executive producer, Matt Hollis. Bless you, my friend. Thank you so very much. And of course, Robert Hollis, our inspiration. And thank you for joining us today. This is Craig A. Jackman saying, please be good to yourselves, be cash, and until next time, bye-bye for now.
Thank you, everybody. Just so you know, me and Craig are fine. Everything's good over here.
Yes,
by the way.
everything's good.
We're all good
Here in Southern California. As of this
Melody, I hope you're doing well as well. She said she's feeling it. So.
Good. I love you guys. Thank you.
Love
very
you guys.
much.
Thank
See
you
on
so
the